Welcome to the channel, where we explore the most mysterious, extreme, and dangerous places on the planet. Here, every story is a real journey of curiosity, courage, and survival. Have you ever thought about climbing an active volcano, surrounded by ancient legends, vengeful spirits, and a dark history of disappearances? Sounds like the plot of a horror movie, but it's real. In today's video, we're going to reveal what no one told you about Mount Rinjani, the volcano that not only tests your body, but shakes the mind of anyone who dares to face it. Get ready for a deep investigation that blends historical facts, extreme geologic phenomena, and chilling legends that have survived for centuries on the island of Lombok, Indonesia. Before we start, leave a like to help this content reach more people who, just like you, love real adventures, true dangers, and stories that send shivers down the spine, even of the bravest ones. And of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the new explorations we bring here. And at the end, I want to know, would you have the courage to climb this cursed mountain after everything you read about and discover? Now, take a deep breath, turn up the volume, and get ready. The trail to the summit of Rinjani is just beginning, and what's waiting for you up there may not want to let you return. At 6:30 a.m. on June 21st, 2025, a young Brazilian woman named Juliana Marins posted a photo smiling, hugging the summit of Mount Rinjani. "I finally conquered my greatest challenge. Grateful for everything." But what Juliana didn't know, and what almost no one tells you, is that this would be her last record of life. In less than 72 hours, her name would become just another among dozens of missing people. Juliana would become a symbol of a disturbing question. Behind its stunning beauty lie stories of mysterious disappearances, unexplainable phenomena, and a violent past that once altered the Earth's climate. Why do so many tourists keep risking their lives in a place considered cursed for centuries, and spirits that take revenge on those who don't respect their realm? Mount Rinjani is no ordinary mountain, but it's not just the geology that makes Rinjani dangerous. While tour agencies market hikes as transformational experiences, local villagers whisper legends about a forgotten princess, gold offerings, and the facts that turn this mountain into one of the most enigmatic and dangerous places on Earth. What lies beneath Rinjani's ashes? What are the tour companies hiding? And why, year after year, even with all the warnings, does it keep luring travelers into a possible death sentence? In this video, you'll uncover the darkest mysteries, the most shocking reports. But be warned, what comes next may completely change the way you see adventure tourism. For every 2 steps you climb, 1 slides back down. To give you an idea, over 450 active volcanoes are found along this belt, including some of the most destructive in history. In minutes, clear skies can turn into a gray wall. Temperatures drop to 4 Celsius, while winds up to 100 kilometers per hour rip through tents and destabilize even the most seasoned climbers. Thick fog reduces visibility to under 10 meters, making it easy to lose the trail or fall into a ravine. Some spiritual entity, Rinjani is one of them. Of these, 8 resulted in confirmed deaths, but unofficial accounts from guides and locals suggest the real number could be much higher. The scariest part, many of these accidents happened even with certified guides beside the tourists. For many adventurers, climbing Mount Rinjani is a dream. But for those who've been there, that dream can easily become a nightmare, soundtracked by slicing winds and unstable ground. The volcano is located on Lombok Island, Indonesia, and sits right in the Pacific Ring of Fire, a tectonic collision zone where the Earth seems to be in constant upheaval. At 3,726 meters high, its peak is often hidden by thick clouds and heavy mist. The trail to the top, thought by many to be just a challenging trek, is actually a path filled with real danger. The incline reaches up to 80 degrees in some sections, and the terrain is made of loose volcanic gravel, like quicksand on stone. Over the last 5 years, according to local government records, more than 180 accidents have been reported, and that's just the official data. The mountain's weather is an unpredictable enemy, and as if that weren't enough, the volcano is active. Its last eruption was in 2016. Inside its massive crater, the secondary cone still emits smoke and ash in large amounts, making the environment extremely toxic at certain times of the year. Faced with all this, would you still pay up to 2,500 reals for a parasitical tour where your life depends on luck, courage, and, maybe, the curse of the spirits and the legend of Princess Andani? For tourists, Rinjani is a physical challenge. But for the native inhabitants of Lombok, especially the Sasak people, direct descendants of the island's first tribes, this mountain is something much deeper, a living, powerful, and unpredictable entity. According to Sasak beliefs, Mount Rinjani is home to an ancestral goddess who rules over an invisible community of spirits. They say she lives in a mystical palace called Segara Anak, hidden in the clouds within the crater, and that it can only be seen by spiritually open eyes during rare moments of cosmic alignment. And there's more. There's a story that chills even the most skeptical. The legend of Princess Andani. She fell in love with a warrior of humble origin, defying her kingdom's rules. Chased by her own father, the king Rinjani fled to the mountain's summit, where she begged the forces of nature to hide her from her fate. Passed down through shamans and elders, the oral tradition says Rinjani was a princess of uncommon beauty and rebellious spirit. The response came as a supernatural storm that swallowed her. Since then, she is said to be the mountain's spiritual guardian, able to protect or punish those who climb without respect. The most symbolic ceremony to appease the mountain's spirits happens every year. The Pekalan ritual. It is a desperate plea from locals for forgiveness and protection, especially to prevent tourists from paying the price of Western arrogance. During this ceremony, jewelry, gold, and valuable objects are thrown into the sacred Segara Anak lake, located inside the crater. Coincidence or not, many of the most tragic accidents happen precisely in areas considered sacred by the locals. Some guides whispered that tourists who mocked the rituals or refused to respect the trail's silence ended up being swallowed by sudden fog or unexplainable falls. You may not believe these stories, but the locals are sure. Rinjani does not forgive disrespect. The real culprit was a sister volcano located right beside what is now Segara Anak. But on that fateful day, something unimaginable happened. The volcano that changed the world long before modern tourism, long before summit selfies or online travel packages. Mount Rinjani was the stage for one of the most devastating natural disasters in human history. For centuries, historians didn't even know it existed. The year was 1257. Back then, Rinjani was just part of a larger system. Sommelest erupted with an estimated VEI 7 rating, the second highest on the Volcanic Explosivity Index. To give you perspective, that eruption was roughly 2,000 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. The city of Den, a capital of a thriving kingdom on the island, was completely buried under tons of ash and lava, literally erased from the map. What remained was a massive crater about 50 square kilometers in size. The very lake tourists now find Instagram-worthy. Modern climate studies show that the eruption was so intense it altered the global climate. Tree ring records and ice core samples from Greenland show a sudden drop in northern hemisphere temperatures shortly after 1257. Many experts believe the event helped trigger the Little Ice Age, which lasted for centuries. Ash from the eruption reached Java, over 340 kilometers away. The atmosphere was filled with sulfur and particles for years. Sunlight was blocked. Only recently did archaeologists and volcanologists identify Sommelest as the culprit. Or rather, the ancient beast that sleeps beneath Mount Rinjani. Crops failed. Entire populations suffered from famine, plagues, and climate chaos. And the most frightening part, for centuries, no one knew exactly which volcano caused it. So every step taken on today's trail, every tent pitched at the crater's edge, rests on the grave of an entire civilization. Do you still think Rinjani is just another pretty mountain for photos? A deadly industry hidden behind pretty pictures, despite such a violent history and hostile environment. Mount Rinjani still attracts between 40,000 and 50,000 tourists every year. That's right, a constant stream of adventurers from all over the world, chasing personal breakthroughs, adrenaline, and epic social media photos. But behind the perfect selfies and inspiring trail videos lies an uncomfortable truth. Tourism at Rinjani is a game of Russian roulette, disguised as a guided tour. On TripAdvisor and travel agency websites, tour packages are sold as once-in-a-lifetime experiences. Prices range from 1,000 reals to 2,500 reals, depending on the number of days. Food and provided structure simply don't exist. If something goes wrong up there, you're on your own. But what they don't tell you is that most local guides have no real training or proper safety equipment. In many cases, the tents are too flimsy for the mountain's winds. Backpacks lack enough supplies and emergency rig. A Brazilian tourist who visited Rinjani in 2023 reported, "The view is absolutely surreal, but what scared me was the lack of preparedness. No one knew what to do when the weather turned. One of our group got sick, and we had to improvise with what little we had." You're pretty much on your own. In 2025, after a wave of complaints and a rise in incidents, the Indonesian government finally issued an official warning calling for stricter safety protocols. But so far, little has changed. The irony is painful. The very agencies profiting from the mountain SV are the ones least invested in real visitor safety. For many local businesses, the trail has become so profitable that fatalities are treated as isolated events. Juliana Marins was one of these victims. Her body was found 5 days later in a hard-to-reach area, and the tour company responsible? Still operating as usual. Even after paying for a full package with a guide, she disappeared during a sudden storm. At Rinjani, profit speaks louder than common sense. And every new group of tourists climbing up ... might just be funding the next tragedy. Beauty that comes at a price. Mount Rinjani is, without a doubt, one of the most beautiful places on Earth. From its summit, you can see the sunrise reflecting over Segara Anak Lake in colors that seem out of this world. It's a spectacle few words can describe, but that same beauty hides a brutal nature and a history marked by pain, mystery, and negligence. Juliana Marin's tragedy is not an isolated case. She joins dozens of forgotten names. Ordinary people who dreamed of a life-changing adventure and ended up as statistics. Every year, new tourists climb the mountain without knowing where they're stepping, without knowing the ancestral history pulsing beneath each rock, without realizing that the trail has been a stage for spiritual sacrifices, the burial of entire cities, and unexplainable manifestations that still defy scientific logic. So the question is simple. Is it worth it? Is it worth risking your life for an experience polished by marketing and silenced by commercial interests? Is it worth feeding an industry that profits from danger, but ignores basic safety? And most importantly, are we so obsessed with validation and personal triumph that we're willing to ignore the most obvious signs of danger? The answer, of course, is personal. But one thing is clear. Before climbing the next volcano, maybe it's better to climb our sense of responsibility. To understand that some places in the world don't want to be tamed, that still harbor forces that even science can't fully explain. Mount Rinjani will remain breathtaking. It will remain challenging, but, unfortunately, it will remain dangerous. And until real changes happen, it will continue charging a price too high for every misstep. So next time you see a glamorous photo of someone on top of the world, remember, behind every click, there may be a horror story. If this story made you think, leave your like, share this video, and comment below. Would you have the courage to climb Rinjani after everything you just learned? See you in the next exploration, where beauty and danger walk side by side, and only the most aware come out unharmed.